Okay, we're going to talk now a little bit about this classified balance sheet. Like everything else in life, accounting is the same way, right? Things get more complicated as we delve a little deeper into them, right? And our balance sheet's no different. So what we're looking at here is called our classified balance sheet, right? It's still a balance sheet. It still has assets, and it still has liabilities and owner's equity, right? And it still balances $115,000 top and bottom, right? What we've done here, though, is we've given us a little more detail, right? We want to have some places to analyze these financial statements, right? So what we've done is we've taken assets now and we've divided them into two categories, right? Current assets or plant assets, right? Now, current assets, the definition of current assets is it's cash, it's going to turn into cash, or it's going to be used up within a 1 year period, right? So cash is cash, that's obviously current. Accounts receivable we're going to collect in 30 days or 60 days, right? So that's a current asset. But land lasts us a long time. Land lasts over a year, right? So we call that a plant asset. Now this is a very simple balance sheet, right? So it's just total plant assets, right? So we add total current assets and total plant assets to come to the $115,000. Now, same with liabilities, right? We take our liabilities and we divide them into current liabilities and long-term liabilities, right? Current liabilities are things that we're going to pay within the next year, and long-term liabilities are things that we're going to pay outside of a 1 year period, right? So in this particular example, they have $12,000 of liabilities that they have to pay within the next year, and they have $33,000 of notes that they're payable outside of 1 year, for total liabilities of $45,000, right? Then we just show equity as equity, and we know that capital plus total liabilities has to equal total assets, right? Total assets equals total liabilities plus owner's equity. So that is a really simple version of the classified balance sheet. So you can see we're starting to get more detail. Now what we're going to look at next is we're going to look at a very complex balance sheet, right? This one has more pieces to it, and we'll talk about those pieces as we bump into them, right? So we'll take a look at this more complex balance sheet here now. Okay, here is a much bigger version of a classified balance sheet, right? Now look, we've gotten way more complex on this one, but let's break it down to its simplest components. It's still a balance sheet, right? So it still has what? Still has assets, and it has total assets, and it has liabilities and owner's equity, and it has total liabilities and owner's equity, and those two things still balance, right? So it's just a basic balance sheet at its heart, right? It has all those pieces. We still divide things into current assets, right? And there's some other things that we're dealing with, right? And then current liabilities and long-term liabilities. So the way that this thing works, right, is the numbers on the outside are the most summary numbers that we have, right? So this 144,356 is the total of all of our current assets. So this is detail that gets us to this summary number that's out here, right? So we do the detail to the summary number. So I have total current assets on the outside. The next piece is investments. Well, this is another caption for our balance sheet, right? This is where we book things like investments, right? So if I buy a piece of land and I'm going to sell down the road, or maybe we're making investments in other companies or something like that, I have this caption called investments, right? So I categorize just my investments in here, and I bring that total way to the outside, right? Now, the property, plant, and equipment section got way more complicated, right? So if we look at it, land, they brought out to this middle column, right? And there's nothing for depreciation for land because we don't depreciate land, right? So land has a value of $4,500. Now let's look at this building. We have a building, so remember we show things at what? Cost minus accumulated depreciation, right? Remember we talked about accumulated depreciation, the contra asset back in chapter 3. So cost minus accumulated depreciation gives us the book value of that asset. So I bring that book value out to that middle column, right? Same with office equipment, right? We have office equipment that we paid $8,600 for. We've used up $5,000 of it, so my book value is $3,600, right? So if I'm looking at my total property, plant, and equipment, I add those three numbers and I bring the totals out here to this outside column, right? So there's my total property, plant, and equipment. So far we've got what? Total current assets, total investments, total property, plant, and equipment. Our last heading that we have is intangibles, right? So intangibles are things like patents and trademarks and that kind of stuff, right? Things that you can't touch. We just bring that total out to here and we add those four and we come to what? Total assets, right? Pretty straightforward. Here they do all the current liabilities on the inside column, bring the total out to here, right? Plus the long-term liabilities gives us total liabilities. So total liabilities is in this outside column because this is what? Total liabilities plus owner's equity is total liabilities and owner's equity, which balances with total assets, right? So we have a whole bunch more things on this balance sheet. A balance sheet can get really complicated. What I want you to keep in mind is the reason that you're in this class in the first place is because we're preparing you for a financial statement analysis class, right? So you should be able to do some financial statement analysis. In order to do that, you have to be able to understand what's in a balance sheet, right? So spend a little time pondering this thing and how it all fits together and some of those kind of things. I know this one's very complex, but it's a pretty good one to study.